I tell you what, though, I've been watching Fallout, and it's actually better than I thought it was going to be. I know which one it is too. Yeah. Yeah, and the whole jacked up Vault Tech stuff didn't disappoint either. So, oh, at least you can hear me. That narrows it down. What'd you do, Zeno?
Hey, since they can't hear us, tell them to give us a sec, Bloodaxe.
I know what it is.
We are having technical difficulties. Please wait. Uh, have y'all ever seen the show called The Regular Show? My son has watched it like 7 times straight through, and he's watching it again right now.
It was a very well. They can't hear me, but it was
Yeah,
really
they can
big.
hear you now.
Oh, it was really big for a while, dude. Huge, like crowd. Very popular
Yeah.
and very memed. Very, very memed. So yeah, I'm not surprised. It really resounded with a generation.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I was doing interviews for my work, and I had moved the mic over to my work computer to sound better while I was doing
Oh,
those.
so it's all your fault.
It is. It's all my fault.
Good.
All right.
I feel better because I was blaming you, so now I don't have to feel bad about it.
Well, there. I mean, when have you felt bad about blaming me, even when it wasn't me?
Fair enough.
Welcome to Dicejunkies. I'm Xenodamus. I'm here with,
You.
and on Skype.
Oh, we got Bloodaxe, but they've already known I've been here for the past 5 minutes. But
Yeah.
now that we can hear you guys, welcome to the show.
All right. All right, let's get started. First up, I mean, let's since you heard half of a conversation about Fallout earlier before the show. The guys were talking about the TV series.
Good show. Good show.
For those that missed the show, and I hadn't watched the show when they reviewed it, it's definitely worth a watch. And even if you're not a Fallout veteran, because I've only played, I think, New Vegas and part of 4, but I've done a lot of diving into it. But I've enjoyed it. But even Mrs. Bloodaxe, who knows nothing about it, she even liked the main character. She's like, oh, she's pretty cool, but she's comes across as a badass, but not as a Mary Sue badass. So I love the way that they're actually telling a story that actually is plausible and believable. So anyway,
I liked, to me, the weakest storyline was the Brotherhood of Steel. The others were all very well done. And
Yeah.
even characters that at first I thought I wasn't going to like ended up really winning me over. Like, I didn't like the other Vault Dwellers as much at first, but by the end of it, I actually was like, okay, this is all really good. Like, all of it. And,
Yeah, I will say I was disappointed with the way Bethesda handled the game afterwards, being that they they pushed out this update that destroyed a lot of mods and stuff like that afterwards.
And the game itself, it didn't play well.
Yeah,
like
didn't
Fallout
make
4.
the game play well. Now, they did finally this week, they pushed out another update that did fix a lot of my graphic issues. And my, but I'm still getting some crashes and stuff like that in it. But I'm not getting some of the stuttering. What was that, Blood?
Now that I've seen the series, I want to go and play the game now. Because beforehand I was playing just because Q recommended me something to play it because I've just had nothing to play at the time. And now I'm like, I actually want to play some Fallout, and it's so we'll see if it's playable. On the
if you
Xbox.
want to play it in the raw sense, it is probably now in a state to do that. The modding community is still. I mean, the most popular mod right now in the modding community is the mod that reverts it back before the update.
Okay.
I mean, now you need to have the patience to get past the first, play it, Bloodaxe, and leave, the first area. Like, you got to actually go outside of your... Because you quit, you quit when you found Cogsworth. You didn't even leave. You got to get.
You look here on the Nexus mod, number one mod in the most popular mod in 30 days, Fallout 4 downgrader.
But it was playing like a decade-old game, and the slog was just tough for me. I didn't realize it was that old until I looked it up because it was 9 years old. I'm like, oh crap, no wonder it plays like a decade-old game.
Honestly, the biggest problem with the game, and this was the problem with the game a decade ago, was the controls are still not the best for the game.
The shooter in general?
Yeah. I mean, just a way of building, and like when you get to your bases and building stuff, man, the controls are miserable. And I forgot about them, because that was one of the first things I modded.
Oh, dude, like your base mods fix all that crap. It's part of your suite of initial mods that you usually grab. The basic mods to get other mods going will usually fix the controls, which is why Bethesda had to knock that out. They had to go, no, none of that. So,
but yeah, it just amuses me that the most popular mod in 30 days. Twice on here. There's also another downgrader in the top. So within the top 10, there are 2 Fallout 4 downgraders. So
I just laughed at the idea. What's it like? Fix this. Fix it now.
Now, on better patch notes, though, Bethesda did release a patch for Starfield. And the patch is actually relatively good if it was a day one patch. No, the patch is really good. It makes a lot of things better. The difficulty settings is phenomenal now. The controls are much more intuitive and not as clunky. But the game is still Starfield. So if you didn't like the game, nothing's really changed there. If you didn't like certain characteristics, like, combat was too easy, but then flight combat was too hard, I heard that complaint about it. That is all adjustable now. So not being able to carry enough stuff, inventory, constant inventory problems, you can take an XP hit and now you can carry more. So not enough money in the shops, you can change that value too. Now it changes the amount of XP because it makes the game easier. Me, I balance things out. I like to have more inventory because I'm a hoarder and I'm going to sell a bunch of stuff, but I like difficulty of the game to be higher. So I was able to set the difficulty of the game higher while lowering my inventory, and it all balanced out to 0.
You said that they finally added in some difficulty-related things that apply survival elements. I want the immersion of needing to eat and sleep.
Yeah.
So I'll probably use that to up the vendor. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just worried about that. I just want the vendor to carry more money, and I'll probably balance out. Because I'm so high level now, I don't need XP.
Yeah.
I really don't care about XP anymore.
So, yeah, they increased, like, the made it where you can have a hunger setting, stuff like that. They made it where like one of the things I said, you can't just sleep anywhere. You know, you have a bed. It has to be a base to regain hit points.
Yeah.
So to regain hit points, you have to be in your ship or in your base. You can't be on some random bed you found.
Yeah, survival. The basic survival settings. I wanted survival settings.
Yeah.
Now, I hope they implemented them well, because the base survival settings in Fallout 4 were crap. I had to always mod in better, so we'll see.
Yeah.
It's good they've done it. It's not the mod thing they were supposed to have done way back in like January that allows people to start properly modding the game. So my opinion is, okay, now get out the mod update so people can actually start putting interesting things in the game. So it's a start, but it's also freaking May.
Yeah. Yeah. And
you know, this is too slow. Bethesda takes too dang long to do stuff. Just like we're going to talk about later, I don't care. I'm getting so sick and tired of people complaining. I'm now team Xbox. Close people down if they ain't working. I'm sorry. I'm sick and tired of this slow crap. I know it ain't easy. I know it's hard to make games, but when it comes to Bethesda, I'm starting to think that maybe Bethesda needs somebody to light a fire, because patches, dude. I've seen people crank out patches.
Well, dude,
we
were supposed to get the mod stuff back in January. You know, this patch shouldn't have taken 6 months to come out, dude.
This is a day one, or this is a month 1 or 2 patch that they took 5 months to do.
Now, is it good? Yes. I mean, but it's stuff we should have had to begin with.
It's not complex.
We had horrible, crappy maps when the game started that were so unusable that you barely used it except for a fast travel point. Now we have nice maps that look good. Why we didn't have that to begin with in a high-tech society, you know? Why did the map have to look like something printed on a dot matrix printer? I don't know.
People mod in this kind of stuff in their free time, and they're not paid, devs. So I'm not impressed with the patch for the time frame they took. They just took so long. I'm like I said, I'm sorry. Bethesda needs to do better. Like they're taking too long. They're taking too long to do what I think other companies could do a lot faster. You know how I know? Because we're playing other games that are doing it. We're playing other games that put out patches that fix things and do more.
Dude, we got
at
patches.
A faster rate.
We got patches and multiple DLCs from Remnant in the time that they got out what should have been a day one patch.
Much smaller companies adding DLC, game features, modes.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what Palworld turned into in a much shorter period of time. It started off as a clunky game to like patch, new features, new add-ons. You're looking at this huge company that got paid all this money when they got bought, and you're like, come on, guys, you couldn't even get a basic patch out, let alone what you said you were going to do? Am I being unreasonable here? It just feels like in the case of Bethesda. And then I look at Arcane Austin and I go, it's kind of the same thing, man. They're just not getting anything out.
Well, yeah. I mean, and Redfall, you know that game we told you last week we weren't going to have to talk about ever again? Well, yeah, eating our words here, but Redfall is getting one final update, including an offline mode. So we'll probably talk about it again before all this is done. They'll probably release this, I guess, probably around June when they release all their other news, because it says, we'll provide additional details soon. But apparently they revamped the neighborhood nest systems, which could be big or small. I will give them that. I don't know what level of revamp we're talking about with the neighborhood nest systems. That system really wasn't the problem, though.
Yes, that was not.
Single player pausing, that
also wasn't the problem.
That wasn't a problem. And yes, that's great, but how hard is it to allow pausing in single player mode? And then offline mode, I didn't even notice. Didn't care if I was online or offline. It didn't really matter. I'm on PC. So.
Yeah, so, there you go. And that's why I just said I'm fed up. So I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. So for the last 6 months, your big update you were working on for the game was a bunch of crap nobody asked for and was not the DLC that you owe people, was not the issues people were complaining about. Yeah, no, man, close them down. I don't care anymore. I'm going to stop being pretending. Okay.
But the Arcane boss for...
Arcane Lion.
Arcane boss, I think he was a boss over technically both of the studios, but now there's only Lion. So... he's been criticizing Xbox, and it's like, you probably shouldn't criticize your employer that much. Just saying. I mean, they're a little trigger happy on this getting rid of people. So.
Well, all I'm saying is Arcane Lion ain't done crap either at the moment, and they're working on Blade, and now you talking all this crap, I'm going like, okay, you must be real confident in Blade.
Blade better be real good.
As you know, they have already shown they ain't thinking about Arcane Studios. They already considered him kind of a bust. And the last game, so I'm thinking that Arcane Lion's the next one to go because the guy over it has decided to start running his mouth. And Arcane Austin had the better games.
That is true.
So I'm like, what are you doing, buddy? You don't have the games that people were talking about.
I mean, you remember this here. What Arcane Lion did... an offshoot, or cause they did an offshoot of Dishonored, but the Dishonored and Dishonored 2 was done by Arcane Lion. Now Dishonored 2 wasn't as good as Dishonored, so this was before they had split the studio. You had Dishonored.
Prey and Dishonored were
so Arcane
Austin.
Lion may still have Dishonored. Prey
was
Austin. And then...
Wolfenstein is Lion, which Deathloop was Lion.
Well, Wolfenstein did pretty good. So, I mean, honestly, Lion may actually have the better portfolio. The only one they're really missing is Prey. Because, obviously, Redfall didn't do well.
Deathloop came out and then stopped being played very quickly. People talked about it, but then it died fast.
It had a big initial push though,
but it died very quickly.
Yeah,
I remember because they were talking about it. Its player base crumbled very quickly. So they got Marvel Blade coming up. If Marvel Blade bombs, Lion's probably out. Especially since for some reason the head has decided he can start talking trash to Xbox for some reason. I have no idea why he thinks that. What is going on with these guys? I don't know. There is just this mentality of, hey, you know what? Nobody's going to fire me. And I'm like,
that's not very entitled thinking.
I don't know, man. I mean, all I'm saying is that's a weird stance to take when you know that, because Xbox is getting enough criticism. I don't think they're going to take it from the inside. That's all I'm saying is like, plus they don't have to close the studio. They could just fire him. Like, there's nothing stopping them from literally firing the head of Arcane Lion Studios and replacing them. They can do that right now. Like, they can. And I'm just like, I don't understand. Because being honest, I'm just not as much as a one to be messed with. I'd already have him in my office. I'd be like, hey, man, tell me why you're making public announcements right now that aren't good for the company.
Well, let's also be honest, dude. There's not enough we've seen on Blade to make this...
Oh, there's not even gameplay.
Yeah, to have this not be a canceled project. Yeah, all they have is the barbershop scene, and that's it.
I'm not saying they may even grab the whole studio, but I'm saying they can get rid of him. They can get rid of Head in a minute. Like I don't know what. Like I said, I don't know what's got him thinking that's a good idea. Because I mean, that's just considered to be bad. I mean, it's inappropriate behavior to go and while the company's getting a lot of bad press, you want to pile on. As far as I'm concerned, that's the kind of thing that it requires. We need to have a talk.
I mean, yeah. I mean, this is definitely not. It's. I mean, you watch your words so you get your employer if you want to keep your job. That's pretty much.
This is bad business.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're upset, but you don't have to be public. Like I say, you don't go out and make public statements, man. That's just not a really good idea. But like Bloodaxe was saying, man, there's just not the professionalism out there that there used to be, where people would normally be like, yeah, I'm not going to sit up there. I'm not going to comment on it because, you know, you still work for Xbox.
Yeah.
Now,
well, speaking of...
What were you going to say, man?
Except for now.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be looking at it. I'm sorry. I guess I'm just not as nice a guy because I'm like, hey, man, what you doing? Like, the bare minimum, I'd be like, what you doing, man?
Speaking of taking away, though, they can also giveth. Activision, which is now a subsidiary of Microsoft, is opening a new studio. While Microsoft is losing some studios, it's also gaining some studios, and it's apparently opening a AAA studio called Elsewhere Entertainment in Poland. It says this new studio will exclusively focus on creating a new narrative-based and genre-defining AAA franchise. Narrative-based seems to be a specific choice. Genre-defining, not really sure. I mean, I guess they're trying to do the best, the genre-defining narrative-based games.
Ignore that phrase. Narrative-based. They're basically doing those story-type movies. Like I said, the games like Last of Us, Witcher,
I don't know if those are narrative-based. I was thinking more of the ones that oh man, what are the ones that you've seen a lot of them where there's a lot of more movie scenes in them and stuff like that.
Oh, like those ones where you make all the choices and
like Telltale games. Like the Telltale games?
No, the horror games where any character can die. I know what you're talking about.
That's what I think of when I think of narrative-based games.
Yeah, I know what he's saying, but the talent they're picking are from a lot of well-known games.
Yeah, well, because it's a lot of RPGs, and every RPG has narrative elements. They're just not narrative games.
But they're trying to basically make a whole new franchise. They're trying to start a whole new AAA franchise, something brand new, which is interesting. My main thing is that finally somebody's hiring devs instead of firing them. And we've needed that for a while. So, hey, look, somebody's giving jobs instead of taking away jobs.
Oh, no. I mean, they do actually, that is what they consider if you Google narrative-based games, Google interprets that as story-driven, which they say is RPGs.
Thought, but,
So, okay.
All right,
that's not what I was thinking of with narrative-based game. Let's see.
Anyway.
No, when you hear RPG, you think RPG, not narrative-based games.
So they're trying to build a new franchise. And they made a company to build this new franchise, and they're creating jobs. I'm rooting for new jobs for devs.
How times have we bitched and complained about there not being anything new, just a rehash of something old or a remake or a fresh coat of paint? Good luck. I hope it's something that's fun and something that's brand new and fresh, because we haven't had anything like that in a while.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a new company that's going to have apparently a decent, because they want it to be a AAA franchise, means they're going to put a lot of money behind it. So we'll see what we can get. I mean, and hopefully, they don't release the game and then let it sit for 6 months and not give us any news about it.
And, of course, the reason it's been in the news is that, of course, the people who are still crying over Tango and Arcane and stuff are throwing a fit that they opened a new studio after they closed some. And my whole thing is I'm like, everybody closes studios. Well, that's been happening. I think it's a good thing somebody's opening a studio because that's called creating jobs. And trying to make a new franchise, we need new franchises, man. We need new stuff. So, hey, good thing. They're literally giving jobs to people. Obviously, they got terminated from some of these other studios. Again, good thing.
Well, and then I honestly, I mean, and this is the crude and rude mark coming out here. So the studio says the new studio has full access to Activision's resources and tools as it continues to increase production and development. Elsewhere is opening its search for best-in-class talent from across the industry and around the world to help create a state-of-the-art and next-generation gaming experience. Now, that should tell you, if you were one of those people let go, you probably don't fit in that category.
Well, and that was going to be my point is, if they were quality devs, they probably would have just been shuffled over to the Polish studio. Because to my knowledge, Poland isn't just, busting at the seams with developing talent.
Well, I mean, dude, it says the industry around the world, so they're probably open to remote and stuff like that in this industry. So,
But I mean, yeah, I mean, if they had any kind of worth or weight from a game development perspective, they probably would have been shuffled over into the new studio. So go back to my comment before the show, which I'm not going to echo again. You know, I think there's probably something to that.
Well, yeah, I can back you up. I'll say it. Look at the studios that they're coming from. What do we know about these studios recently? A lot of the studios that we're looking at are studios that have changed their hiring practices and do not really, from what I have heard and what it appears, do not reward hard work and talent as much as they do check boxes and other things based on what they themselves are posting and what's even coming out about their hiring practices. So these could be a lot of talent in the market. They got fed up and left these studios because they said, okay, well, if you're not going to treat me fairly, I'm out. And this studio could be picking those people up and going like, yo, man, you're a really good dev. Come over here. We just want talent. Because look at it, CD Projekt Red. We've talked about some of this stuff going on with CD Projekt Red. Some stuff we're not talking about because it's so controversial, we don't even want to get into it. But trust me, it's crazy. Do a search,
CD
it's
Projekt,
wild.
CD Projekt Red has, in the last year, gotten in a certain category that a lot of people have left because of.
Yeah, like one of their recent policies is so biased, it's extreme that we're not going to get into it. It's extreme.
We know The Last of Us 2 and that.
And we know how that's gone. The Witcher is under the same company.
Witcher's same as a Cyberpunk.
Far Cry has had some controversy.
I haven't heard much from the Far Cry side. I mean, the last game wasn't that great, but...
then Division and Destiny is under Bungie, which I think it's Bungie, is Destiny. And I've heard some things there.
I think the new Division game just got canceled.
So you've got talent coming out that has reasons to be leaving these projects. Uncharted, if you remember the last game, they went away from Nathan and they had that one game that had the, well, I'm not even going into it. Let's just say that they made some choices on one of their last games. So, I mean, it is interesting that the games that they're mentioning are games that have switched their focus and changed their, the Ubisoft game got canceled, Division Heartland. Yeah. So, and we know Ubisoft, we're going to get into Ubisoft in a minute. So, we know where Ubisoft is going. So, there you go. So, it looks like they may be, Bloodaxe, you may be a genius, sir. It may be they're picking up people that are leaving projects because they're going like, okay, you know what? This is what you're about now. I'm here to make games. And they said, we're here to make games. We're making a studio for people that want to make games. Come on over here. You may have really caught on to something, Bloodaxe. Like, I did not look at those games and pay attention to what those companies were that those games were under. But now that I think about it, over the last month, every one of those companies over that game has popped up on our show for doing something kind of messed up, some DEI jacked up stuff. And it's odd that they're mentioning those games as this is where we're getting people from.
Well, and since you mentioned Ubisoft, Ubisoft stock plummets 15% after Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer debut, and the company failed to meet forecasted sales figures. Now, most people, and I mean a lot of the drop is most likely going to be because the company failed to meet forecasted sales figure. But the Assassin's Creed Shadows trailer did cause a lot of controversy. I mean, I'm
hoping my boy Flynn in chat will give his opinion. I always like to get a second opinion on it because
they picked a character for the samurai that is in history, but the story is all over the place.
I mean, I first found out about Yasuki many, many, many years ago because he appeared in, there was a samurai sword fighting game. I can't remember the name, but that's why I'm hoping Flynn is still with us in chat because he'll remember because I played it with him and his brothers. And Yasuki appeared in the game. And it was a sword fighting game, and he appeared in there. And in the game, he was not a samurai. And it was the first time I looked into the character. And his history at that time was very clear that he was not this vaulted hero or samurai. He was a servant. And did not seem to be particularly beloved at that time. Now there's a lot of controversy, and there's been a big fight on Wikipedia because people are trying to alter it. People are putting out different stories, but they can't fool me because I have the advantage of I found out about the character probably about 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So I got to look him up before his information was tampered with. And the information I had on him was he was not a samurai, never became a samurai, and was not some honored warrior.
In most of the historic documents that they do show, it actually shows him as a sumo.
He was considered very strong. They were impressed by his big black strength. His way basically it was presented.
But anyway, my point, and the thing that got me was, I mean, the reason I can see why the sales would plummet has nothing to do with the fact that they chose, a black main character. It has to do with, you realize Assassin's Creed has a global market, and there has not been an Asian character, well, not like Japanese character, in Assassin's Creed.
Well, it's a historical
and now
game.
your first game in Japan, and you're not putting the Japanese character in there. You're putting.
Well, basically, each game has been a historical piece set in a region, and each region has been generally accurate to that region. And each region, especially the people in that region, have enjoyed seeing their region represented. When they were in America, they had English colonizer, and then they had a Native American. And when they were doing the Vikings, you had like a Viking. When you were in Italy, you had Italian. When you were in the Middle East, you had Middle East. When you were in Egypt, you had Egypt. And then everybody, and they said, and the Japanese people, when they talked to the Japanese market, they were like, Japanese game's coming up. We're going to get our character. We're looking forward to our character. Yay. What? And then when you go to Japan, you suddenly decide to not represent the Japan game with the Japanese character. And I remember that when The Last Samurai came out, everybody would say, oh, white guy samurai, blah, 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 blah. But then they turn around and they choose to do the Black Samurai. And I'm like, that's an odd choice for an Assassin's Creed game. Now, a Yasuki-based game, I would be quite interested in. But for Assassin's Creed, with you not doing this any other time, altering, this pattern, it is, I could see if you were in Japan and you were looking forward to the Japanese historical game, that you might be a bit thrown off that you don't get a Japanese samurai character to play, someone from your culture to play. It's an odd choice. Now, is it as big an issue as all that? To me, obviously, it's not. I'm not impressed. It's pointless. This has no audience. I mean, I was talking to some other people, other black people, and they're like, yo, man, what do you think about the samurai? And they're like, I don't know anything about samurais. We don't care. So it's not for us. No, seriously, did I not have a conversation with you? I was talking with my son about it. And he's just like, my son says, I don't know anything about samurais. I'm not interested. We don't care. So you're not making it for us. I like samurai culture. I still don't care about being a samurai. So it's not for me. And I'm the person who has played Romance of the Three Kingdoms, Samurai Showdown, Samurai Warriors, Dynasty Warrior. Well, that's a different one. But I played the one, there's a Japanese version of the Dynasty Warriors series specifically. But I played all those games. I played Legend of the Five Rings. I like the culture. Still don't care about playing a black samurai. So it's not even for me. So I don't know who it's for. It's for the Japanese people. This character is one they don't really care about. So it's not for them. So I don't know who it's for. So, I mean, from a marketing perspective, it's an odd choice.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you what it's for, but I'm not going to get it on this show. But it's interesting. The one person who I thought would enjoy playing a black samurai as much as you enjoy Japanese culture would be you. And the fact that you're out on it, that's going to be a hard sell for the normies.
Well, it's a historically accurate game, so I'm not interested when I'm doing a historically accurate game playing a non-historical character. Now, if this was a fantasy, a less story-oriented game set in a samurai setting, I get to make my own character. Yeah, if I make my own character, I'd probably make him black. But it's not. And unfortunately, I have the disadvantage of knowing enough about Yasuke to go, this is not accurate. So I'm not as interested in it because I know it's not that accurate. And if I'm going to play a history piece, like when I played Kingdom Come Deliverance, the first game, I liked it because it was fairly accurate. It's like, if I'm going to play a history piece, I want to play it correctly. Otherwise, just give me a fantasy game. Just give me a fantasy game and let me do what I want. Yes, but don't mess it up. Do it right or do it right or don't do it.
I mean, I honestly haven't been that big of a fan of Assassin's Creed in a while. And, this story doesn't really, it's not something I really care about anyway. But it is amusing to me. Like I said, I look at it as a financial push here. And it's just like Ubisoft plans a big marketing push for AC Shadows in Japan. Good luck. You know? That to me, you already shot yourself in the foot for Japan, you know? And I mean, hey, look, let's be honest. We know the outlooks of a lot of the Asian countries when it comes to, I mean, we've seen the shrinking characters in Disney posters and all that.
Dude, we're also big anime fans. We've seen how they present black characters in most anime. It's not the best, man. It's sometimes hard to be an anime fan because we don't get a great treatment. So it's Ubisoft is shooting himself in the foot.
And I mean, if you look at revenues coming from gaming, supposedly the United States has the highest, spends the most on gaming, but your next three
are all Asian countries.
And
China and South Korea are not. You're not going to sell a black main character to those countries at all. Japan's the better of the three, but oh no, China and South no. And probably not Germany either. Yeah, the top 5, 1 out of 5, man. You're bad on most of them.
Well, and Assassin's Creed is large. I mean, you're not going to be a standard assassin in Assassin's Creed samurai. You're going to be a samurai. The assassins in Assassin's Creed doesn't mean assassin anymore. That was like the first couple of games. You were an actual assassin.
I wasn't even going to bring up the fact that it's the black samurai who's also secretly an assassin, which is considered well, they don't understand the culture. It's not considered a good thing to be it goes so against Bushido that it's violently inappropriate for a samurai to be an assassin.
You weren't really an assassin when you were a Viking. You weren't really an assassin when...
Bushido, though, is a lot stricter. You can't do anything that an assassin would do under Bushido and not violently violate Bushido. So...
yeah.
In general, this is going to be a rough sell, I think, across the board. But, you know... I don't know what they're doing with it, man. I know that I'm not a big Assassin's Creed guy, so I'm not mad. I'm not even knocking the game. It may be amazing. I just think that the marketing is going to start off on its back foot. Now, if they're doing a retelling, Assassin's Creed also has some obviously some different elements. So this is interesting that they're doing this. But I think that if they're taking a long shot, and I don't think it was their best option. I think maybe they should have had 2 characters, and Yasuke was one of them, and the other one was a Japanese samurai, so that maybe you had multiple options. But I think not allowing the option for people who are looking forward to it from that country to play, finally, their assassin for their country, you actually did the opposite of representation. You, didn't represent the people when their one opportunity came along. Because now, when are they going to get the Japanese assassin? Yeah. You're going to throw them in when they're somewhere else that it doesn't make sense? Yo, no, look, this one's set in Canada, Japanese assassin for no reason. I mean, I don't know how when are they going to get it? You literally now put them in a situation where they don't get represented because I don't know when you're going to slide them in. Odd choice. But the stock drop may or may not have been indicative of that, but people are definitely attributing it to that. We're mildly interested at best. Honestly, I'm not rooting against the game. I mean, there was a Netflix series that romanticized Yasuke. We've seen it plenty of times before. Like I said, I'm just kind of thinking that it's not going to work. I think it's a bad business idea, and then unfortunately, they put the game on its back foot, and it's probably going to not do well, especially because there's better games coming out. We've seen some amazing samurai games coming out, and I think it's now at a massive disadvantage versus that new one that we were looking at. And I mean, there's already a port of Ghost of Tsushima. Then there's a new one coming out that I can't remember the name of, but we've covered it here. That looks really good. More than likely, most Japanese gamers are just going to go get one of the really good ones and just skip this altogether. And the new game, remember, I even said, what did I say about the new game when they were hookshot? I said it looked like Assassin's Creed, didn't I?
Yeah.
So guess what? They got a better game coming out that didn't do this.
Well, at least some companies are still looking at numbers. Oh man, what was the company starts with a C?
Capcom.
Capcom, yes. After Capcom released last week, how well it was doing with its multi-platform games.
Quick pause. And they're making that Resident Evil 1 remake is coming.
Yeah, supposedly the Resident
Evil 1. I might
Evil
actually
1,
get that one.
So after so many multi-platform games and a good revenue for the last 10 years, some other companies may be taking note. For one, Square Enix is going aggressively multi-platform after a string of PS5 exclusives. Basically, Square Enix came out and almost gave PlayStation the middle finger. I mean, they were pretty raw on it, and was like, you know what, we need to start trying to get these other markets as well, and not just focusing on one. And
no, how dare you say almost? Here's what you need to understand, my friends and followers, listeners around the world, hopefully. Square Enix didn't have any kind of contract with Sony. They put out games that were multi-platform. Still. So they had no reason. They had to say this publicly. They went out of their way to make a very public announcement.
The new business plan's name: Square Enix Reboots and Awakens.
So they
said it's done taking the PlayStation Kool-Aid.
Yeah, they went out of their way. They literally said, boom, boom. We would just like to say, F you, Sony, publicly. That's what they did. They went out of their way because they didn't have to. They could have just said, hey, guys, you're going to see more multi. No, they said, we want everyone to know we are aggressively going to be putting stuff on things that aren't PlayStation, pointing at them. They got the finger in their face, PlayStation. They went out of their way. And they know this gave PlayStation black eye because look at the resounding effect this is going to have on business. First of all, this is going to make a lot of other gaming devs, companies go, okay, wait a minute. What does Square Enix know that we don't, right? They're going to immediately be like, okay, Square Enix, one of the largest, well-known, this is an old school, well-known gaming company, has just went out of their way to publicly separate themselves from Sony, like really publicly. That's going to make all these other companies second guess those exclusives, which is going to do one of two things. It's going to make a lot more of them refuse to go exclusive to Sony, or it's going to raise the price. When we talk about it's going to raise the price to go exclusive because now Sony is going to have a lot less authority. Because when Sony comes in and goes, hey, we want you to go exclusive, they're going to look at him and go like, I don't know. I mean, that doesn't seem to be a good idea. Now Sony is going to have to start offering more to get its exclusives because people are going to be like, well, it doesn't seem to be a good idea. We're seeing people say that you shouldn't. So they're going to have to double down on those prices. So they just screwed Sony because Sony is going to definitely have to pay more. immediately when Sony approaches somebody, those people are going to be hesitant to take the money they used to take for the exclusivity because they now know that money must not be enough because Square said hell no. And they're going to be like, well, if Square Enix is not happy with the money and considers it in that, because didn't Squaresoft even say that that's why they weren't? I think Squaresoft even in detail went into this is why we're not making our money.
They released a detailed financial report, which I was sort of skimming through there. And, a lot of it is blamed on not spreading out the market, not properly merchandising outside of, their digital entertainment and how they're marketing that and how they're publishing that has been the big thing that they're looking at here. They're like, yeah, we had some good years because we released these games, a while back, but since then, it's hurt.
Yeah, and they're like, we could have made more money, And when I looked at even the Final Fantasy remake on Steam, it didn't make a huge chunk of money, no, but did it add another million copies? Yes. It was an extra million copies on Steam, and that was Steam. And I said, they'd have thrown an Xbox, that would have probably been another million or more copies. And you're like, that's money on the table. And I've always said that. My term is money on the table. You got money on the table you're not taking. And if the compensation from Sony is not worth millions of extra copies of your game sold, then you don't need to be exclusive. But that's not only the only thing. You're not reaching new markets. These are also fans and customers you're not making. For example,
well, you're not reaching some old fans because at one point, here's the problem, and this is a problem I used to have, is Dragon Quest. I was a big fan of the Dragon Quest games in Nintendo, and then for a while, Dragon Quest wasn't on Xbox, and I was primarily Xbox at the time, so they were stuck over there in PlayStation world. Mm-hmm. So I had to go around the world to eventually play those games, through methods. But yeah, and I was already a fan who you were losing. So that's the other problem with it. You're not just missing out on gaining new fans because not everybody, I could now, and where I'm at today, I could buy both consoles if I wanted to, but I couldn't then. I had to pick one,
it's the same with me, dude. I love superhero games, and I would have bought Spider-Man 1 and before I knew better, 2, if it would have been on Xbox, because I played I played almost every Spider-Man game before it went exclusive.
Dude, they would have got a God of War sell out of me if they would have put it out.
I definitely would have kept playing God of War.
Or if they would have even put it out on PC in a decent time frame, but they took too long to put it out on PC. And
by the time you did, you just lost interest.
Yeah.
Because I'm a DLC buyer. We buy, you know what? We're even the guys they like. We buy the full edition. We bought Remnant. We bought the whole thing. We bought Dead Island 2. Me and Bloodaxe both owned all the DLCs coming out version because we have decent jobs. Yeah. So when we have something we like, we buy the whole kit and caboodle. So it's we are the customers you want, the ones that buy give me all the DLC. I get the DLC for the games I like. But when you limit your market, you lose all that money. And I'm a big Final Fantasy guy. I've played every Final Fantasy that wasn't exclusive to PlayStation. Every single one.
Even Xbox has sort of figured out that the whole exclusive thing. A lot of the games that they have made exclusive, they're talking about. There's going to be Starfield on PlayStation now. It's coming. Probably maybe by the time
they start getting it when it's patched.
I was about to say, PlayStation will be getting the better version of it. But some of their other games are talking about putting on PlayStation.
It doesn't bother me. I don't care about exclusivity. Yeah.
So
when I had a Nintendo, I did play the ones because I've got to ask in chat. Yeah, when I used to be a Nintendo guy, and I did play the ones on Nintendo and even the Game Boy. I played the portable Final Fantasies, buddy. Yeah, I played the Crystal Goblet or whatever. Yeah, when I say I played all the Final Fantasies, dude. I played all the Final Fantasies.
Final Fantasies. I played them.
Usually with Dragon Quest, I was that with Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I played all the Final Fantasies and the Dragon Quest, and the ones that weren't released in the U.S. I had got fan translations of them
Yep.
so that I could play them. So,
Yeah, so like I stopped when they went exclusive to PlayStation. That's when I got out of the Square market. And I mean, I played almost everything Square Enix RPG until they decided they were.
But
sold.
I mean, here when they talk about multi-platform, they mentioned both Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, and computer PC. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope more people step up and go, let's put this stuff out on more systems. Let's make money everywhere we can make money. Exclusives may give me a big check on the day one, but in the long run, not only are you, even if the sales are not as much as that big check, just your future audience that you're losing. Like, that's the thing that gets me, is they don't pay attention to the fact that, maybe I got a bigger check now.
He's rolling into something he knows I want to talk about. Good, I like that.
But the audience,
Well, you remember I talked about how PlayStation was actually harming a lot of new franchises.
Yeah.
If you actually pay attention, because we've covered, I think, most of our topics. Bloodaxe, I want you to weigh in on this with me, because you're a real, Bloodaxe is one of our good business guys here, too. If you think about it, PlayStation has a lot of huge franchises already. Then when they were getting new up-and-coming brands and franchises to go exclusive to their console, they were harming these franchises. Because if you look at what happened, no new franchise in the last few years has started on PlayStation. These companies that they talked into going exclusive to them, most of those companies did not get sequels, and the game died off. And the reason why is because to start a new franchise, you really need to reach a larger audience.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be on a system, because, Xbox doesn't have a major franchise to choke you out. That's why Hi-Fi Rush was able to be popular.
The thing is this is what gets me, is this was always, like, when I went to college, I had a couple of classes in business just because, it was electives and stuff like that. And one of the first things you always learn is money up front is not always the best thing for your business. Marketing is, you're okay to lose money to get a bigger market, because that means money further down the road.
I'll give you examples, too. The Game Pass model has one huge advantage. It allows people to play a game that may not be able to buy 5 or 6 games in a month. The biggest issue with PlayStation is that their games are expensive, and most people are only going to buy what they know is good. That's why Forspoken, it wasn't going to do well anyway. Not only was Forspoken not a great game, but are you going to buy Forspoken, or are you going to buy Final Fantasy? Are you going to buy Forspoken, or are you going to buy Spider-Man? You've got huge guaranteed franchises on the console, and you're trying to launch something new, and you're not going to compete with these big games. Well, you're only allowed to be on PlayStation. PlayStation has huge games coming out. They're barely advertising you. You get choked out. You're this little game over here, while huge popular titles are coming out that people are going to spend their money on. But if you're on PC, you're on Steam, you're on Xbox, people might pick you up. Because guess what? People on Steam buy a lot of just games and try them. Game Pass allows people to try your game out and get you out there. They were smothering out a lot of these new games. And the reason I know that, because when I look at PlayStation, nothing new has risen. Go ahead, Bloodaxe.
Oh, Michael said a dirty word in the
we're going to talk about that, Michael, although I would love to talk about the most recent episode of Doctor Who. But I don't think Zeno will let me.
I mean, we can talk about it.
I've actually been keeping up with Doctor Who.
I was holding it in the reserve. We actually had 2 things in reserve in case we needed to fill some space. One was the new Rings of Power trailer, which being that the numbers of the previous one, it was sort of just amusing. Plus, I think they're already saying they've got ideas for a third season.
Yeah, they're working on season 3 already, but only 37% of viewers finished season 1. So I don't know why you make a season 2 of a show that only has a 37% completion rate. How many people are
Yeah.
going to come back to watch it if only 37% finished the first season?
But yeah, and then the last thing was the Doctor Who,
Well,
and
if we want to talk about it,
I'm going to be honest and upfront here. I have not watched anything on the last 3 episodes.
he's been dodging it.
I have been dodging it. I've gotten bits and pieces here that is enough to annoy me.
I've been making sure he gets some of the pain.
Yeah, I mean it's been
the,
painful. And Disney getting involved was it was the writing on the wall of it getting even worse. And between
I can't put this all on Disney though. Russell T. Davis is the villain.
well,
of
yeah,
this.
but I mean between the obvious forceful political handstands that has been shoehorned into the show, and just the fact that the
combative stance against fans.
the combative stance against fans, the uber just a level of corniness that I never thought I'd see in Doctor Who, and I thought the Capaldi days with the Sonic shades and the riding the tank with a guitar was bad, and hurt me. Knowing that level of Doctor Who corniness hurt me. I cannot bear to watch this.
I actually gave him a pass because I told him he could not sit through an episode of the new Doctor Who. He would not be able to. Because when I actually started talking to him and saying the plot out loud, I realized that I had been almost hypnotized watching it, that I did not realize how actually stupid it was until I actually said it out loud. But when I started saying it, I said, my God, this is the dumbest thing I may have ever said out loud. I'm like, this sounds so stupid that I was stunned I'm like, it would sound like I was describing like a Mad TV sketch. It was so stupid. And I didn't even realize when I watched it how stupid it was because it's so bizarre a visual that you don't realize you've walked into this bizarro land. But then when you pull back and you tell somebody, oh, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you start realizing, I'm describing the dumbest thing I've ever described.
Yeah. And I mean, as we mentioned with the games previously, when you do stuff like that isolates a large portion of people, because you know a large portion of people aren't going to agree with that strongly enough to just stop watching the show. I mean, you're killing the show.
2.4, 2.6 million views, the second and third lowest just about ratings ever. Like when you're competing for the worst, not current, the worst ever view ratings ever, that's crazy, man. In the history of the show, you are like this above the lowest. You're just like bombed out low ratings. That's insane. And these are the first episodes. You need to understand the highest viewed episodes are the beginning episodes. The highest viewed episodes are always the first couple of episodes, which means they're going to hit numbers we've never seen on lows. Like they're going to hit 1.1. They're going to hit lows we've never seen. It's impossible that they're not going to break the lowest record. Jodie Whittaker is going to stomp out their ratings, man, because it's almost impossible they're not going to hit the
here's
lows.
the thing. I mean, and that's why, I bring up Capaldi, because Capaldi was the first one where I think the writing just killed the series. Then they did bring it back and actually did some good episodes with him. And then Whittaker, she was a really good actress. I saw her in some other BBC stuff. She was really good. Hell, Cootie is a good actor. I've seen him in stuff. He can act. He is, and I actually like some of his mannerisms and how he does things. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, as doctors, they've been bad, and most likely it's not because of them. It's because of bad writing. Now, we'll say, Jodie Whittaker and Cutie Gatwa, their attitude towards the fans have been sort of shit as well. So I don't give them as much of a pass as I do Capaldi, because Capaldi was a fan of the show and he loved the fans, and was a much more accommodating to fans. Where Jodie Whittaker and Cutie Gatwa seem to be
hostile.
a lot more hostile to fans.
But what have you heard about the episodes, Bloodaxe, about keeping it as neutral as you can?
Well, I mean, granted, a lot of the stuff that I get in my feed is through a certain lens, and so I take a lot of it with a grain of salt, but also a sprinkling of fact. But the writing they've done with this most recent season falls right in line with what Disney's been trying to do for the past 8, 9 years, 10 years. And the most recent one with this interesting villain, which when I first saw the picture, I laughed out loud.
So you're talking about episode 2.
You talking about the one with the maestro, the guy that was
So you're not talking about episode 3. You're talking about episode. Okay, I'm glad you don't know about episode 3. You'd be more mad.
Well, yeah. Now, episode 2, from what I hear, the maestro was a really interesting character, and he was brought up from way back in the original series. And honestly, I enjoyed the 3 specials. You know, they weren't that bad. They did a good job with the maestro, I thought, in the specials. Just to turn around and say, all right, it was like the specials were trying to reel some people back in just so they could piss them off even more.
Well, I mean, that's what, and I mean, Russell T. Davies said his plan was. I mean, he's reveling in the controversy. These interviews, he's reveling in it. I don't know why, but for some reason, he reminds me of the guy that was messing up Star Wars. He seems to be really wanting to bury this show. And I don't understand how people don't see that when they're being as obvious about it, where you just go, you do understand this guy's looking in the camera and kind of going like, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun effing this up. And you're just like, Disney, you're not doing well. This isn't a good look. And then when the 3rd episode, I'll do the short of it. The 1st episode has the most childish and stupid concept I've ever heard. When I told him, he almost couldn't believe it. It is dumb. The message is highly debated.
The toy maker. That's us. Okay.
Yeah, the toy maker, not the maestro. The toy maker, the maestro is a different character. But the maestro is an older character as well.
I was like, I don't remember the maestro.
Okay, yeah, no, okay.
The maestro is from back, though. He is a character that existed. Yeah, the maestro's existed before.
When was he from?
Oh, way back. No, way back. Like I saw a black and white picture of the maestro, so
I think
that's not how you spell it. It is. But see black and white. But essentially, the 1st episode is silly, childish. You're not gonna get an old pick easily. They're gonna. God, I didn't need to see that face a bunch of times. The current maestro. But this is very distracting. The first show's concept is so childish and stupid that it was like just dumb, really dumb. I mean, there's literally a booger joke that is the dumbest thing, a booger joke. The message is a very controversial topic that probably shouldn't have even been really brought up, even though it is at least a little subtle in a Doctor Who show. I'm not even going to really parse the subject because like I said, we've already slayed enough that I'm trying to get out of politics. Yeah. But a very big political debate is brought up in there. It's just the most childish thing I've seen. The 2nd episode is literally questionable. The maestro character, which is a gender fluid character that is a drag queen. Like the actor is a drag queen, and they are very visibly a drag queen in the character role as well, does several sexually implied acts on screen. Well, not several, like 2 or 3 shots or a bit odd.
Yeah.
They do something with a baton. It just really didn't feel that appropriate.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then the third episode is very anti-religion. So, and I mean, down to having priest collars that obviously are a reference to Christianity and a very anti-religious message, with the doctor even declaring that he hates faith. So just these first 3 episodes are all very politically charged in one way or another, have things in it that don't feel appropriate for children after the first episode. The first episode, your kids aren't going to catch on to the message and probably be laughing because it's so stupid. 2 and 3, I would not be happy if I was sitting there with a 10-year-old child or younger. I would probably be very, especially the third episode, which covers a topic that will be directly counter to what you've probably told your children. Like, if you're a Christian family, you don't want to sit down with your children and watch episode 3, period. I'm just going to flat out say that. So, it's just really controversial. And I don't know why they're being so controversial, because they could take a more neutral stance with it, but they're being very blatant. So, it's odd. Yeah, I don't understand why.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to spoil it.
That's TV in general, though. I mean, we used to, you always, you'd touch on the controversial, but then you'd leave a bit of mystery behind it so people could sort of take it in their own direction.
You didn't used to take a hard stance.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the oddity. But they take pretty hard stances on these things. And they make declarations that, like I said, you really would have to probably turn and go, that's not true, son. That's not true, daughter. What they said is not true.
Yeah.
And if you got to do that with your family afterwards, you got to explain to your kids.
Well, hopefully you already explained to your kids TV isn't true.
Yeah, but it's debatable. Now, again, grain of salt, I don't know. It's just, and then, like I said, the acting in general has been meh. It's a little bit better in episode 3. Nakuti does have acting potential. You're not wrong. When they tell him to be serious, he seems to have potential. It's just not happening when it's that often.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he is a very dramatic actor. Most of everything I've seen him in has been, which makes it funny that they've got him in such a
being
clown.
A clown.
Yeah.
A clown is a very accurate and much nicer than the word I want to use for what he is in the show.
Yeah, the sad thing is his controversy hasn't met ratings, though. I mean, obviously, it's not doing well. Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe it is some free advertisement. Maybe it would be worse without the controversy.
Well, the numbers show that they're not even being hate watched.
So, I don't know.
But
we're going to wrap it up there.
So I actually, and I don't know how much more of it I'm going to follow, because it's getting more offensive by the episode, literally. Like I said, I don't even want Bloodaxe. Like, Bloodaxe, as long as you don't watch it, you can use your feeds, but don't watch episode 3 because it's going to piss you off. And honestly, I don't know how many more of these I can take. If their goal is to keep ramping it up, I don't know. I'll see if 4 gets better or worse, but I don't know how they can go much further than they have, but that's what I thought it too. You know? So I got who knows what's going to happen in episode 4? Who knows what's going to happen in episode 5? They seem to be desiring to make the show as unpleasant for certain people. Unfortunately, that certain people seems to be anybody that isn't very, very firmly specific in their beliefs. Because like I said, they don't take light. They take strong stances. They take stances that even your average liberal or Democrat would be uncomfortable with, because they're very hard-nosed on it. So like I said, just a very hard anti-religion view. I'm like, dude, there's plenty of people that are Democrats and liberals that still have some religion. So it's just a really strong, but Moffat really comes hard in Boom. And you're just kind of like...
Well, it's almost like they're going after institutions, whether it be, you know, the nuclear family or your religious faith. They're trying to tear a lot of that down in an effort for shock value, but they don't understand that, you know, a lot of us just tune out. It gets to the point to where we just don't care anymore. And I don't even care enough to even go downvote anything anymore. I just tune on into other things. I do keep up with it because I want to be at least informed if it comes up on the show. But it's to the point to where, like now with Star Wars, I don't care. Somebody sent me something the other day. And I was like, about a Luke Skywalker centric movie. I'm like, I don't care, because it's at the point where I just don't care anymore. And there's nothing that can be done unless there's a really strong turnout that goes, hey, they've gone back to their roots on Star Wars for me to pay attention. Doctor Who. I watched the Capaldi days. I even watched about half of Jodie Whittaker stuff. It just got to the point where it was so weird. But, they're taking away D&D, which is, things that geeks and nerds are fond of. They're taking away Warhammer. Now they're taking away Star Wars and other things that we latched onto as kids, to the point that, we're almost numb to it, and I don't care anymore.
Well, that's what I meant with the controversy not really, I think, meaning ratings anymore, is because people have gotten numb to it. Most of my people I know that were old school Doctor Who fans, they're not tuning back in. We're keeping up with it somewhat here because of the show, and we talk about this type of stuff, but most of the old fans I know, they're like, no, man, I gave up on that shit. I'm not even looking back. I even tried to get some of my people to watch the specials, because I was like, hey, the specials were actually really good. And they're just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And now I'm sort of glad they didn't.
To polish it off, like, what I'm trying to say too, because I'm not even really trying to rail on shows that bad. What I want you to understand is the reason I'm saying the things I'm saying is because, believe it or not, we have fun on the show. We like to rant, but I'm actually a really laid back guy. My views are very light. I'm very flexible. You know what I'm saying? I watch stuff that doesn't agree with me all the time and enjoy it. Some of my favorite comedians are hardcore atheists, man, and they're freaking funny. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I watch it because, you don't have to be in agreement with me for me to enjoy what you talk about. I don't believe that people have to do that, And these shows still made me go, that feels a little strong. So if somebody who's usually watches a lot of entertainment that's not necessarily his views is still going, that gets you an idea of how extreme they're kind of pushing it. And I'm like, man, you guys are really going a little harder than you have to. Like he said, subtlety. There is no subtlety. And that's my disappointment. Because I'm like, you can get a message across and present your point of view without being distasteful about it. I feel like that they're not showing any style, any style of presentation. They're just coming out and just kind of going, F you if you don't think this. And I'm like, really? That's all you got, man? Like, that's the best you could do? I've seen better.
Yeah. All right.
Seen better.
Well, guys, be sure to check out Dicejunkies.com, where you find links everywhere we are online, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell on our YouTube channel. And as every week,
we hope you enjoy.